Hello and welcome to our demo on how to install HTP's cabin pressure unit. So when you get it in the box like that, you'll open up the box. These are all the parts that you'll receive. So this is the internal diffuser. This is your instructions list. And that goes through everything, locations, wiring, diagram, and how to install it as well. But this video will explain everything for you. So we'll put the diffuser on the side for the moment. And this is the cowling, so stainless steel lock nuts and some washers. Remove the cowling. And inside here, here's your filter. And you can see on your filter here, these rubbers here compress the filter down to give that seal, a nice seal inside there, so it sits nice and tight and no dust can come through. So it's important, we'll go through that process later, but it's important that the filter is seated properly. So there's your fan, there's your wiring. So we've done a mock-up of a roof here. This is a 45 to 50 mil roof. And when you go to install your cabin pressure, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can install your wires here, pretty simple. Obviously this is for a pre-wired roof. Now if you need to bring power up there, you can still do the same. So what we've done there is we've made it so that the connection will tuck back inside the roof as such. And what you've got here is blue is negative and black is positive. Now if you do reverse those, the cabin pressure will not bring air into the cabin, it will actually do the reverse. It'll suck air from inside the cabin. So it's important that you get the polarities correct. Put your connector inside there. Make sure you've got a nice connection. Generally what we do as well is we do tape up the connection as well. So you can see I'm using pliers with a crimper on it. You can just use any type of crimping tool. A nice tug, make sure that the wires are crimped correctly, and then you can tuck that back in like such. So that's your wiring part. There's two ways you can do this. So that's going to sit on top of the roof. You can use a foam tape, and you can run that foam tape around where the holes are, around the whole perimeter there. So you'll go right around the whole seat of where the cabin pressure is going to get mounted onto the roof. That's one way. You don't have to use foam tape, because what you can do is by tucking your wires in there, once that's screwed down, so you line up your cabin pressure, make sure it's nice and straight on your roof. And also you need to center it from inside the cabin as well, centering it so that this diffuser here sits up underneath. So you'll generally go back, you go inside. Once you've ran a bead around that, or use the foam tape, you'll center it from underneath, because the diffuser will have to sit nice and square from under. So you've tucked your wiring in, you've got your foam tape or a silicone bead, and it's just a matter of just screwing it down, and you can see that there's 8 points there, which will compress the cabin pressure onto the roof. And you'll get, if you've used silicone or tape at this stage, it will compress it down onto the roof. So once you've screwed it down, this is where you'll run a bead of silicone. You'll go right around the cabin pressure, and you'll inspect your seal as well to make sure there's no bubbles and make sure it's sealed. So the foam tape will give it almost like a double seal, so you don't, as I mentioned before, you don't have to use it. You can just run a bead underneath it, and then you'll definitely run another bead on the outside, because you don't want any water coming inside your caravan. At this stage, we've screwed down the external body. We've done our wiring. We've sealed around the cabin pressure onto the roof. Had a good look, good inspection. You know, even get a torch and just make sure that you can't see any small holes. So there's your filter. It's directional. So pop your filter down and give it a nice push down to make sure it's nice and tight. There's your cowling. And we've got lock nuts. So washer, lock nuts, 10mm socket or ring spanner, whichever you want to use, and tighten up all the cabin pressure. Bolts. So once you've done the external part of that, we've wired it, we've secured it onto the roof, we've sealed around the body of the cabin pressure onto the caravan roof. Then you've got your internal diffuser, and of course that is just simple as those wires will be tucked in. Four screws. That's it. Ready to hit the dust. Now what we're going to also go through is we're going to show you another accessory. So this here is a deflector. Now it's a deflector for the front of the van. So let's assume that this is the front of the cabin pressure unit, and you'll sit that just in front of it. If you see here, I've sat it off there so that you can always still remove the cowling, because you do need to clean your filter. It's important that the filter's cleaned regularly, especially in very dusty conditions. It acts like a vacuum cleaner. The dustier it is, the more dust is going to, the filter's going to collect more dust, and of course when it's full, or when it's restricting airflow, bringing it into the caravan. So what this deflector does is, some people need to mount them because of their cutouts for a retrofit, need to cut them on the front of the van. So there may be a slope on the front of the van where they've got a hatch. So what this does is that it deflects the dust like a spoiler, and it reduces more dust coming in there. So even if it's not on the front of the van, it is available. You can put it even on the flat roof. Every little bit helps. and it's just as simple as running a bead on the inside, underneath there. As I mentioned, making sure that the cowling is always removable, and then it's just a matter of screwing it down. So another really great add-on for the cabin pressure unit is this dust deflector as well. And you can see how efficient it would be on the front of a van, because a lot of dust comes off the vehicle. So what you've got here is a spacer. So what this spacer does, you can see here we've got a 45 to 50 mil roof. With other vans, they do have thinner roofs which are approximately 32 to 35. So what this does is and I'll go through it and I'll show you exactly what it does. With the spacer, with a thinner roof, you will need this spacer to bring the body of where the fan is up to create that thicker roof, so that otherwise this will protrude through the roof and you won't be able to get your internal diffuser on. Seal the spacer, screw it down. You can see there's points here where your screws are going to come through, so don't use those. Make 2 new holes if you need to fix it down, and of course then the cabin pressure unit will just sit in there as such, and you can see how it's lifted the body on a thinner roof. That's pretty much it. Same process, wire it, seal it, check your seals, make sure that there's no water going to come in between the body of the cabin pressure and into your roof. So that's the most important part, is sealing it. And of course the other important part is maintaining your filter. As I mentioned before, it is a vacuum cleaner, so the filter will clog up fairly quickly. Look, you can be in situations where you might have to clean it every day or every second day, especially like Cape York, etc., where there's that really fine dust. It will just suck it in. Very, very important. That's it. Any other questions? Our staff are happy to help you.